Hey everyone, happy Tuesday and welcome to another episode of Day in the Life of Vintage Classic Specialist. So, huge day today for this car. Pretty big day for this one too. So, I will come back to these two cars. Let me start off with Mr. Rafa's day. So, Rafa had a day of fun with fabrication. So, let me actually just get on this creeper down here and roll down here where I can show you guys what he did. So, I don't know if I ever showed you guys a really good look at the lever shocks on this car before, but these are the lever shocks. So you can see there's this unit here that's got a couple pistons in it. It's mounted to basically the frame of the car, the chassis of the car, and then it's got this lever that extends out. And then that lever in turn is attached to basically the spring plate. So you can see how when the suspension articulates, it pulls this lever, and then by virtue of these pistons and the mechanism in here, the rotation of this lever on its shaft is basically like dampened. So that's how lever shocks work. Instead of something like extending in and out like a tube shock, it's a rotation of an arm. And so the links here, which are these two pieces of metal that you see here that have kind of a twist in them. So those are available from Vertainen in Finland. So we bought those. But what they didn't have, and good luck finding them, is, I don't know how well I'm even going to be able to show this, is basically, I guess you can kind of see it from here, is this piece. So here, let me point better. Here we go. So this piece right here, which has like a eyelet on it here that connects on the end of these twisted pieces. And then basically it picks up the, it takes one of the bolts that's the axle to spring plate bolt right there. And this thing is basically that bolt, if that makes sense. So pretty much, that's what attaches this whole linkage to the spring plate. And it attaches it at the forwardmost of the three bolts that bolt the spring plate to the axle. So one here, and then the one up front. And so this one, again, takes the place of that bolt. And it has like an eye on it that you see here. Anyway, so yeah, those things, I sure have not been able to find anyone that actually makes those. And it's one of those things that good luck trying to find some. So we pretty much had some pictures, and Rafa just went and started like chopping up metal and stuff and made them. The one cool thing is that we took basically steering dampers off, like, say, later Beetles, and that's where this eye here came from, which has like a rubber bushing and then like a metal sleeve in it. That was the perfect size for here. So then pretty much cut off the shock off of it and then pretty much built it up to there with this angle on it and stuff like that. So it's really kind of hard to appreciate how much work went into these, but they look really, really close to the original part, and I doubt anyone would notice that they weren't original ones if they were looking at them. So amazing job to Rafa, as usual, fabricating those. So I made one obviously for each side. You can see the other one up there. Yeah, there it is. So yeah, went and fabricated those because that's what you do when you're in a restoration shop and you need a part that's not available. You make it, and that's kind of fun. Actually, we like fabricating stuff when we have to. So pretty much fabricating those two things was basically Rafa's day. The first one took way longer than the second one because there was a lot of kind of like figuring out how to do it essentially and stuff like that. The second one needed much quicker, but overall, yeah, pretty much all day to do the pair of them. So that was Rafa's day. My day, let me go in chronological order. So I started with this one, and I took a bunch of measurements on this car, and yeah, the back of the car was just too high by about about an inch, even maybe like a hair more than an inch. And it had a lot of camber on it. And of course, these cars stock, they have a little bit. And to me, the amount that it has now looks fairly appropriate. So yeah, I basically lowered the back of this car, so both sides, by just over an inch. Was basically five inner teeth up and 5 inner teeth down, which gives you like 4 degrees ish of change in spring plate angle, and which corresponds to just over an inch of lowering. So yeah, I kind of leveled the car out pretty good. So one thing that I realized taking lots and lots and lots of measurements of this car is that this fender here, which I believe to be an aftermarket fender, the shape of it is not great. And so by that, what I mean is that I started taking measurements, and I found that the fender on this side, like say measuring from the bottom here to the ground, it was like, I don't know, maybe like almost an inch higher than that same measurement on the other fender. And then likewise measuring at the center of the wheel from the ground to the top of the fender arch, also like an inch higher. So I was like, oh, the whole car is higher on this side. But when I measured the back, they were basically identical. And so then what I did was I measured a different reference point. I measured from the ground to the top of this hinge here, and I did that on both sides, and they were within, like a quarter of an inch. So what that tells me is that the difference in the fenders here to the ground is the shape of the fenders. And if you start looking at these really close, you can kind of see the difference. It's going to be kind of hard for you guys to appreciate this on video, but I believe that this is an original fender, and you can see how the curve of the fender kind of comes down a lot more like this before the opening. And again, I don't know if you'll be able to sort of appreciate this on video, but again, the edge comes down pretty much nearly vertical before it opens up for the wheel arch. And then if you look at this side, to me at least, it's almost like the opening is when the fender's still kind of coming like this. Anyway, regardless of all that and how you measure it and stuff like that, this fender is definitely shaped different than that one. And that's what's kind of giving the illusion in part that this car sits really high in front. I'm not necessarily disputing the fact that the car sits a little bit high in front, but again, this fender being shaped a little weird, which again, I believe to be an aftermarket fender, is kind of making it look worse than it is. If you look at the other side of the car and take measurements, the car is actually sitting pretty level. So anyway, all that aside, I pretty much went off that side of the car and took all the measurements, and that's where I came up with needing to lower the back by about an inch. So yeah, it's looking much better now. Back camber is much more in control. Took the thing for a spin around the block. It's running, driving great. Looking much better, I think, overall, with the backdrop down about an inch. So yeah, this guy is super close to done. I'm going to have Octavio put the carpet along the tunnel in the middle this morning. He still kind of owes us that, or owes the customer that. And I think that's it. Attach the seat belts, the front 2 seat belts on the floor. That's about it. So yeah, should have no problem getting this guy his car back probably next week. And I'll talk about why it's not happening this week in a few minutes. So that brings us to our favorite split window that's in the shop. The only split window that's in the shop, but it's still our favorite. So big day for this car. So several things happened here. One is I went ahead and just put his back wheels and tires on it. And then, I took it on the little initial parking lot cruise that I always do. And I do have a video of that that I'll try and post up later. And it did great. I mean, it felt like a little 25 horsepower V-dub, super slow and super fun to drive. On the parking lot drive, I think I only managed to get into second gear. And of course I used first and reverse also. They worked great. They go into gears fairly easy. So yeah, took it back. And then, once the car was sort of settled from that, Jacob came in and we did the front end alignment on it. So we got the front end aligned, and then pretty much I think we took it for another quick spin just in that's all kind of running together now in the parking lot. Anyway, enough to see what the steering wheel needed, and then we straightened out the steering wheel. And then we took it for a longer drive, which was probably a little less than 2 miles. And, well, bad news. The bad news is that after getting back from that very short 2 mile-ish little road test, at idle, the oil light was coming on. Does this sound familiar? This just happened to us with that red convertible. And so, yeah, we hooked a gauge up to the oil pressure sender port, and the oil pressure on this motor is definitely low. So if you recall, if you've been around the channel for a while, this car had been fully restored. The motor had been rebuilt at some point. This all happened over in England. Car came over here. Guy bought it and brought it over, and then pretty much almost immediately tore out all the stock stuff and put in the big motor and all that, saved all the stock stuff, came into our shop to be put back to stock. And so the motor that's in here was a running, driving, restored motor, but I don't know who built it or what they did, what they put in it, but 100% the oil pressure is low. And so talked to the owner and told him, I always hate breaking news to people like that, but I think what I'm going to do first is I'm going to pull the oil pump out, because 25 horse motors came with, I believe, a 17 millimeter oil pump, which is just like ridiculously small. And the thing is that I'm sure it was fine when these motors were brand new, but this case is the original case from this car from 1952. On these early cars, 25, 36 horse, and 40 horse, the cam actually rode right in the case. And so part of what happens is that the cam bore gets kind of wallered out where the cam journals ride. And so that's one place where they can lose oil pressure. The other thing, we don't know like what align bores it's had done, or how, the quality of the machine work that was done on it. There's a lot of different reasons, kind of like that red convertible. There's a lot of different reasons you can have low oil pressure. However, usually anytime we build like a 25 or 36 horsepower motor, we put in the bigger pump. So Wolfsburg West sells a 26 millimeter pump. So again, going from 17, assuming this has the correct pump for the 25 horse, to going from 17 basically to 26, it's going to give us a huge boost in oil pressure, and I think take care of all those issues, with a potentially wore out case or whatever. But I mean, that case needs to be, used. It needs to be run with this car. This is a numbers matching 25 horse case, numbers matching to this exact car. So 100% we don't want to try and find a replacement for that case. And so yeah, that's going to be the first thing we try, is to, well, first off, pull the oil pump out and see if there's any issues with it per se. But I think even if there were issues with it, I wouldn't put a 17 back in it. I'd go right for the 26. And I think that's gonna basically compensate very well for any issues with the case being, as old as it is, 70, plus years old, and wore out, such as I'm sure it is. So yeah, we'll see. More of the saga here to continue, but the good news is, other than the oil pressure thing, the car runs and drives great, goes down the road really well, stops, turns, all the electrical's working. Car just looks amazing. So yeah, little bump in the road here, but I think that just upgrading the oil pump is going to be the right approach, and it's going to take care of the oil pressure issue on this. I think the owner said he thought that whoever rebuilt the motor wasn't necessarily even a VW guy or VW shop. And so it's possible that they just like put the 17 millimeter oil pump back in and didn't think anything about it. But we would never do that because, again, these cases are wore out. They need all the help they can get when it comes to oil pressure. So that's what we will do. If we open it up and pull it out and it does have a 26 millimeter oil pump in it, then I guess we'll cross that bridge. But I am not expecting to see a 26 or a 21 for that matter in there. But we'll see. So I don't know if I'm going to get around to this tomorrow or not. I'll keep you guys posted. On the subject of tomorrow is my last day for this week and actually until Tuesday next week. So me and the family are heading to the state of Alabama to see my in-laws. We're leaving Thursday morning, back Monday afternoon. So back in the shop Tuesday. I will try, if I have time tomorrow, to film a little extra content that I can kind of drop during the time that I'm out of the shop, just to kind of keep, feeding the algorithm, so to speak, and give you guys something to amuse yourselves with. So, no promises, but I will try and film a little extra stuff tomorrow that I can drop during my absence. So that is it for today, everyone. Thank you guys. Appreciate you all watching, and we will see you again tomorrow. Bye.